15 Things Not to Do in Czech Republic. The Czech Republic is a small landlocked country in Central Europe, home to ancient castles as well as monasteries and impressive historic homes. With its incredibly picturesque scenery, marvelous architecture, and awe-inspiring culture, the Czech Republic has so much to offer every single type of traveler that manages to make it over to this breathtaking place. But to make sure that happens, be sure to follow these tips to make it one of the best trips you'll ever have. Number 1. Avoid unnecessary added conversion. You are really better off just bringing a debit card and getting money out of an ATM, most of the time. Not all exchange shops are rip-offs, and generally, throughout the country almost none of them are, but a lot of them in Prague offer exchange rates at only say, 55 or 60% of the current exchange rate. And I've seen a lot of tourists lining up to get fleeced. Number 2. Avoid shopping at weird souvenir traps selling Russian merchandise. Russia's far away, you all. Czechs are not culturally Russian. Be careful buying crystal too, a traditionally high-product Czech product. Do you know enough to tell a good crystal from a bad crystal? No. Then don't waste your money on it. It's probably not even Czech. Of course, the alternative is souvenir traps, selling cheap Chinese-made crap. Number 3. Never consume anything you didn't actually order yourself. While this tip does not have anything to do with getting roofied, although you should always be careful about that, never consume anything you didn't actually order. It's quite common in Czech that tourists get hit with an unwanted charge for a drink, or an appetizer that they believe was served for free, but was given precisely for the restaurant to earn more. Make sure to double-check with the server if what they put on the table is actually a complimentary item, or something that you'll be charged for when it's time to pay your bill. Number 4. Avoid taking taxis in Czech if possible. The Czech Republic wasn't always the biggest tourist location before, but over the past few decades, it has become more and more popular. Unfortunately, some locals have managed to use this to their advantage. They are notorious for ripping off unwitting tourists. Public transport is pretty awesome. Try to negotiate a price before getting in if you must take a taxi. Number 5. Never take Tram 22. One of the more popular modes of public transportation is the tram, plus it's also one of the most affordable. But unless you know how to guard yourself, never take Tram 22, if you don't have to. Although this train goes through the Old Town, a popular tourist spot in the city, it is also known for tons of pickpockets and petty thievery that prey on unknowing and unaware visitors that don't know any better. If you must take this tram, then be sure to keep your belongings safe and secure for the entire ride. Number 6. Skip the astronomical clock show. Every hour on the hour, hundreds of people flock to Prague's astronomical clock to watch the infamous show. It is a highly anticipated event, with a pretty subpar payoff. During the show, you will watch the little figurines to the side of the clock do a short dance, then the skeleton turns his hourglass over, and a bird pops out of the top. The movements are so subtle, I didn't even know what I was watching. The only amusing part of this experience was listening to the disappointed commentary around us. Everyone was questioning what had just happened before finally realizing it was over and slowly dispersing back into the city. Number 7. Make sure to validate your ticket. If you have a paper ticket, make sure to get it validated before getting on the metro, or as soon as you board the bus or tram. The validation machines timestamp your ticket, making it valid for your journey. If you have not validated your ticket, you risk a large fine if a ticket inspector happens to come on board. You can find yellow validations machines on the buses and trams, and before you get on the metro. Number 8. Never use the term Czechoslovakia. First and foremost, Czechoslovakia was abolished back in 1993, updating it to the Czech Republic afterwards, so using this term to refer to the country that you are in can mean two things. 1. That you don't know your history, and 2. That you're obviously very confused about where you actually are. Not only do the locals not like this outdated term, but they dislike it, even more, when you say that the Czech Republic is part of Eastern Europe, since it's really part of Central Europe. Be sure you get your facts straight before you accidentally insult a bunch of locals right off the bat. Number 9, never get tempted to buy Matryoshka dolls. It's totally normal, and customary, to want to bring home a little something as a reminder of an amazing time you spent while in another country. But if you happen to be in Prague, and see tons of booths selling Matryoshka dolls, never get tempted to buy a set. First of all, Matryoshka dolls are actually Russian, not Czech. And secondly, they may remind you of the time you spent in this interesting city, but they have no cultural value to the actual Czech Republic. They are incredibly adorable wooden dolls though, so honestly, the struggle will be real. But if you want a true Czech souvenir, then go for a marionette instead. Number 10, never go around on a Segway. Segways have become a highly popular mode of transportation these days, given that they're compact, quick and relatively easy to use. But if you aren't that great at balancing on these two-wheeled standing-up driving types of machinery, then never attempt to go around on one. Not only are they quite expensive, but if you're not adept at using one, you'll spend the first hour attempting to learn how to work it, and the next making sure you don't fall off. And if the idea of going around on a Segway is to see the intricate details of the city, believe us when we say you're not going to get the full experience. Number 11, never be an easy target. Unfortunately, with the increase of tourists in Prague, petty thievery and pickpocketing has also increased, especially in the highly populated areas. But no matter how much you might feel like you know how to keep your things safe, you still need to be on your guard. Never be an easy target, and never take your surroundings for granted. As the saying goes, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Number 12, ignore the roving gangs and avoid going to nightclubs. You will hear the roving gangs of British pleasure seekers from far off, as they stumble drunkenly down the streets. Ignore these wasted boors. In the Czech Republic, nightclubs are brothels. At the very least, you're going to be paying too much for your drinks. Number 13, never expect excellent service. Despite having thousands of visitors per year, it would seem that Czech still hasn't gotten the memo about being kind to their guests. We don't want to generalize, but word on the street is that the locals that are in the service industry are not exactly the friendliest nor the most respectful. Apparently in this city, the customer isn't always necessarily right, and you just have to take it in stride. Unfortunately, even if service happens to be crappy, never forget to tip your servers or customer service personnel. Like most parts of the world that indulge in tipping, 10% is customary, and really, it's expected as well. Number 14, never think Charles Bridge will be empty. One of the most visited places in Prague is the Charles Bridge, which also happens to be one of the oldest bridges in the entire continent of Europe. The over 2,000-foot-long bridge has a number of points of interest, to gawk at and take photos with, even buskers playing music, and artists showing off their work, but don't ever think it will be easy to get the perfect photo. The bridge is hardly ever empty, unless you manage to make it over in the wee hours of the morning. Number 15, never buy anything on Karlova Street. One of the most popular and touristy places in Prague is Karlova Street. Not only do most of the visitors head over there to gawk at all the breathtaking architecture, but also to look for trinkets and souvenirs to bring home with them to remember their trip. Of course, most of the vendors know this and take advantage of that fact completely. Sadly, most visitors don't realize that most of these small items are way overpriced, so they spend more money on them than their actual worth. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this channel.